Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin mommy, and it's Monday, May 11th. I'm here again on a Monday, which is great. I just want to start off by saying thank you for the warm reception of the kits in my Etsy shop. I was blown away a little bit by how popular they were. I was somewhat prepared with ready to ship kits, and I sold about double what I had prepared, so I was a busy girl this week. I didn't get as much Stitch Mania stitching in as I had hoped, partly because of the kits and partly because I was trying to finish up part 2 of the Feels Like Home Sal. But I did get more work done on Anne of Green Gables. It is not finished. I have a little less than 1,200 stitches left, so it should be finished in the next few days, depending on how much time I get. I do have some customer stitching that I will need to be doing, but hopefully I'll find time for that in the morning, and I'll still get afternoon, evening time for Stitch Mania. So let's get started. Speaking of the Feels Like Home Sal, this is a mystery stitch along by the Fat Quarter Shop, and you can find this on their website along with floss packs and fabric and accessories. And the called for fabric is 25 count cloud vintage cloth, and this is my part 2, which released on Friday. I'm using all the called for classic colorworks, so there's a little bit of variegation that you can see there. And the house felt like it took forever, but now that I see it next to the bird, it looks smaller than it felt when I was stitching it. So it's complementary to the design, but it did take a long time. Part of it was because I got burnt out on the roof, which is what I started with, and I just didn't stitch on it for a long time. And so I'm not used to things with huge blocks of color, so it could have been part of that. I don't remember what else I might have been busy with, but I just didn't stitch on it. And so I was a procrastinator, I guess. And so by the time I got to it, I finished it late Friday, which is when it came out, so that I could post my picture on Instagram on the day it released. So now I worked on other like small projects in my non-Stitch Mania time this weekend. So now that I've shown it to you, I'm going to start working on part 3, so that hopefully that'll be done also before Friday of this week. And that one none of the rest of the parts should take quite as long as this house. I'm not worried about only having a partial week to work on those. But I think it turned out really cute. It's a very dark house, but I like how the light, like the colorful, it's really tealy is the color that's in the windows, and I like how that gives it a warmth and lived in look. So I thought that turned out nice. We'll get to see some of the pinks come out in some of these next releases, so that'll be fun because that's of course my favorite color. Blue is next favorite, but pink wins. So that's part 2 of Feels Like Home. And let's see, I also worked a tiny bit. The next thing I worked on when that was done was part 9 of Bloomtopia. So I filmed a clip of that right before this. I can't share it quite yet because that doesn't release for a little while. But I don't think anything released this week yet. Coming up later this week, part 8 is coming out on the 15th. So I'll get to share that clip next week. I did work a tiny bit on School Day Sampler because I had finished Bloomtopia and I had some time where I could stitch outside while my family was playing and the weather was wonderful. So I pulled this out. I do want to get this done before the end of the month, but I've got so many other things, I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but that's my goal. So this is where this was alongside, well, where it is now alongside where it was last time I showed you. My daughter has not done any more on it. So I parked her string in hopes that she will want to finish that bird before all is said and done. I really wanted to at least finish the bird. But I finished the red on the apple and then finished out the string in the schoolhouse, which is all the red in the schoolhouse. I was playing a little thread chicken at the end to make sure the schoolhouse I didn't have to get a whole nother length of thread just for like 2 stitches. So I don't like to do that. So I play thread chicken. So that one length of thread of red is all I did while I was outside that day. And this is on 18 count beige Aida. And it's coming along, but there's still a good amount left. So hopefully I can make time for everything. That's the long and short of it. So my daughter is not helping with this much at all. So it's up to me to get that done. And let's see, I also worked a little bit on my tree. Not as much as I would have liked because yesterday was Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of you out there who celebrated with your moms or as a mom. And hugs to anybody who couldn't do that. I know sometimes Mother's Day can be hard. I ran out of stitching time because there were so many like socially distanced social activities. So there were lots of things going on. They were all, you know, not what you normally do. We had church things and Mother's Day things, and so not as much stitching time in general over the whole day. So I kind of just gave up on anything else because I really wanted to at least see some progress on Anne yesterday. So, but I did end up, we watched some Deadliest Catch before bed, which is one I can stitch or bobbinate while I'm doing. So I pulled it out for that and worked on a branch for that. And then this morning, while I was waiting for my grocery pickup order in the parking lot, I put in a few leaves. So it is not cut up, but it does have some progress. So I'll go ahead and show it. So here it is next to last time. I finished this part of the branch and up here, and then added that leaf and those 3 leaves. So there's still more to do. This is 28 count light blue even weave by Zweigart, the artiste brand from Hobby Lobby, and it's 1/1. And I'm really liking how it's turning out. So all these leaves in the middle here are in the low to mid 90s again. We got up to 95, so that's now the hottest temperature. But out here, and probably yesterday's date is out here, and it was 70 something. And then, so it's supposed to be in the 70s for a few days, which as the high. So that should be a lot nicer. Yesterday was really, really, really nice weather for compared to the last few days. And most of the days here in Southern California, since we don't have a lot of humidity, the evenings are beautiful because once the sun goes down, everything immediately cools off, and it's really nice to be outside. So that was nice. Yeah, so worked a little bit on that. Hopefully I can get all the way cut up when I pull it out again next Sunday, or throughout the week, depending on what I do. I'll probably start working on my customer project as well this week, so that'll take some time away from that kind of stitching. But I do have things that I'm committed to, so I will be working on that stuff. So let's see. I guess I can show my Anne now. This is what I worked on for all of my fun stitching at night. There was not a lot on some days. I didn't get very many big days at all. Let's see, I filmed on Tuesday. Tuesday, I only got 130 stitches, and these are half stitches. Wednesday, I got 305, which was nice. Thursday, 279. Friday, only 97. Saturday, 361, so a few more. And Sunday, 265. Some of the ones that have bigger numbers are because I got to a color where they had a lot of fill in, and so it goes a lot faster. So that's always nice. As I've mentioned before, I'm stitching it cross country at this point, extreme over the whole thing, because it's so small and it's easy to do. So I'm just going down the key. Hey kitty, come on up. Yeah, Cinnamon's in here with me today. Come on up. You want to say hi? I'm going down the list of DMC colors and just completing them down the list. And so I've finally gotten to the 4-digit numbers. I'm like 30, 31 and stuff like that. So That's exciting. Getting closer. So here is my before and after of Anne of Green Gables. Very close to a finish. Here it is. And I don't know this time how obvious it will be since there wasn't quite as much done, but there is a lot more filled in the middle here and along the sides, in the greens and the etc. So there were some beiges and things I think added. Oh, and one of the skin colors. So his hands and stuff is filled in now, which is nice. There is a color 3371 maybe that has a lot of fill in. So when that gets done, a lot of the shadows will be filled in, and that will look really cool, I think. It'll be almost done at that point. Yeah, so this is 40 count silk gauze 1/1 half stitches, and I think it's coming along pretty nicely. Should be done in the next few days. Like I said, a little less than 1,200 stitches remain. So I didn't get it done by the 10th like I was hoping, but life happens. So hopefully the next few days, and then I will pull out, I'll show it again just so it's easier for editing next time. I'll pull out Quick Stitch Iris by Josephine Wall, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs also. And this is where I am right now. And I will pull this out and see how much I can get until the 20th. So since the end of my Stitch Mania is the 20th, that's next week, there won't be anything else other than this. Any of my new starts won't be until next week. So this week coming up will be Anne, and hopefully I'll get to Quick Stitch Iris and see how much I can get done on that. That'll be fun. I'm excited to see progress. So I thought I would share a little bit about my Princess de Broglie debacle. I haven't had time to look into it, but I mentioned this last week. This lady that I showed last week, I think I'm heavily leaning towards restarting her. I don't think I will do anything with her face. I'll probably keep it, but I don't think I would frame it. The goal for this was never to really put it up anywhere. It was just to enjoy stitching it. So Heather, Confetti Stitcher, mentioned the if the colors in her are continued to be charted in the new Pattern Keeper version that I have of the chart, if they're still charted in green hair and yellow skin, to try to find a background that's very similar in tone to this background, like a really dark blue-green, just like this one is. That's a wonderful idea. So thank you, Heather. Another thought I had is something I had in my stash is I have some 28 count mushroom even weave. It is MCG textiles, but it is fairly even when you measure it with a ruler. So some of them are not even, I know that, but this one is fairly even. I think I got this from Jessie Marie when she was destashing. I don't know if it's big enough, but I think it probably is. I have to do, I think blue would show up nicely on tan. It's not modeled, which could be a nice thing if I'm not doing the background, to have a hand-dyed fabric. If I want to start it this month though, I might have to go with something like this. I haven't actually looked online, so there might be something available ready to ship that I could find that's not too expensive. The other thing I'm thinking of is I have to do something where I can use 2 strands because there are a lot of blends in Golden Kite patterns. So I'd have to do a 2-strand half stitch if I'm doing 28 count. Otherwise I'd stick with 18 and she'd continue to be enormous, and I could do it, but I'm leaning towards a half stitch, even though I don't think I've ever done a half stitch project with no background. But I think because they're so small, I think it would be okay. If I do a hand-dyed fabric, it would probably be slightly smaller than 28 because those things usually shrink up, and that might make it look even more good, like pixelated and not slashy with the half stitches. So but then it could be hard to get the confetti to lay right. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably hopefully have time this week to look around online to see what other fabrics I can find and to see what the new pattern keeper symbols look like and all of that. So hopefully I can have time this week to play and decide something, because I need to, if I'm going to order something, I need to have time to get it in before later in the month. And I think that's all she wrote. So I also had a question about the terms 1/1 and 2/1 in the comments. And so I filmed a little clip describing with my camera the other direction with what 1/1 and 2/1 look like on 28 count as compared to 2/1 on 14 count Aida. We don't usually use that term 2/1 on Aida. Some people do still, because the terms fly around a lot on Flosstube. A lot of people say, yeah, I'm stitching this 2/1 on 18 count Aida or something. But typically on Aida, you don't say that because it's almost always over 1. You could do over 2 squares and have really big stitches, but since that's more the anomaly than the rule, you know, you don't need to say the over how many fabric threads when you're stitching on Aida for the most part, unless you're doing the exception and making it super big for like making it into a pillow tapestry or something. Anyways, so I demonstrated a little clip of what that looks like, and hopefully that's helpful for some of you. If you don't care about that, I will see you later, and hope you have a wonderful stitching week. Enjoy your Stitch Mania plans, whatever that might look like, even if you're just watching the craziness around you. And if you are interested in the little video, I'll put it at the end. So with that, have a wonderful week and happy stitching. Bye. Hi, so I thought I would show what 1/1 and 1/2 looks like, because I had a question about that on one of my videos recently. This is 14 count Aida, and this is 28 count even weave. When you stitch on Aida, you usually don't say 1/1 or 1/2. Here's my cat, sorry. Because most often you'll just stitch on each of these blocks, but technically you could say it's over 1. I stitched with 2 strands over 1 fabric thread, which would be like one of these rows. Technically, if you stitched over 2 on 14 count, you could go from like this hole up to that hole, and from here to here with a huge X and do 7 count X's. So that is possible, but not common, I guess I should say. These X's are the same size as these X's, because this is 28 count, only I have stitched over 2. So you can see there's fabric threads are a lot smaller than these ones. And I've stitched, let's see, here's some X's that are out in the middle. These yellow ones show up better, where I come up here, go down here, and I'm covering 2 fabric threads. But the X itself is a 14 count X, just like these over here. So then I would say 2 strands of thread over 2 fabric threads is 2 over 2. The man in this design is 1/1, which is 1 thread of fabric over one thread of floss over 1 fabric thread. 1 strand of floss over 1 fabric thread. Kitty, you're moving my light. You're in my light. So these are, get out of the way, Kitty. There we go. Sorry about that. These are tiny stitches. You could fit 4 of these stitches in the same spot as 1 of these stitches. These are 28 count sized stitches, and they are 1 strand over 1 fabric thread. So that is the difference, and seeing them side by side and against the Aida as well. So hopefully that was clear. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. There's also some like diagrams and things on websites that you can find that will illustrate it as well. So hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful stitching week. Happy stitching! Bye.